All right, this is Danny with the Crypto Show. I'm here in Wyoming, Laramie, Wyoming, at the University of Wyoming, and I'm talking with presidential candidate Brock Pierce. He's an independent, and tell me about what made you want to run for president. You just like pain? You like being drugged through the mud? Because that's probably what they're going to try to do to you.
I mean, it's already what they do, right? Yeah, you are inviting in. I mean, you're stepping into the ring of fire.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's why there's so few real leaders that are willing to do it, because very few people are willing to subject themselves to the pain and suffering that one has to go through to try and help.
Right.
But why? I mean, I can summarize my reason for running in one word: love. At a time where it feels like our only choices are fear and hate, love is the answer. I love this country. I love the American people. I believe in us. I have faith in us. And I look around and I look at the state of the nation, and it doesn't feel like the United States. It feels like the divided states.
Yeah, that word popped into my head before you said it. And
yeah,
you're exactly right.
Politically divided, economically divided, racial divisions. Well, at the same time, we're facing existential threats from the environment, technology, issues internationally with nations like China. It's like, it feels to me like we're doomed if we don't do something different. Like, it's time to wake up. Our time is now, if not when, if not now, when? Like,
even the mask is clearly a political divide. I mean, people who are wearing the mask are probably leaning left. People who refuse are kind of leaning right, or anarchist or whatever, don't want to be involved in it at all. What I want to find out what you want to accomplish with it. So in 2012, I was a delegate for Ron Paul. I was a Republican delegate, but I was in support of Ron Paul, and hopefully he's okay. Actually, today he had a stroke on TV, so that's pretty sad.
But he did get back up, and he was able to speak and walked himself to the ambulance. So that's a good sign.
Yeah,
strokes are always bad, but I don't think we're losing Ron Paul today, and I don't think we're going to lose his faculties either.
Thank God.
I think he's still going to be with us. But let's pray for him.
My interest in that, as I worked my ass off as a delegate to help get him elected, but in reality, I didn't want him to win. I wanted him to go as far as he could so he could get his message out. And I feel like he did more just by getting that message out than he ever would have by actually being elected, because both sides would have worked against him and he would have accomplished nothing. But getting his message out, I think he accomplished much more. Do you feel like just getting the message out is going to be more of an accomplishment than actually being elected? Because you're on the ballot in 17 states, right?
I think 16 officially, but yeah, and counting,
okay.
And write-ins everywhere else. What is the definition of success? I already feel like I won. The process of just announcing, what you go through personally leading up to that, the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, it's the ultimate sort of bar, right? And having the courage to step into the ring of fire, knowing what's going to happen, and committing yourself, surrendering yourself, for the betterment of this nation, for the betterment of the American people, knowing what happens here is going to affect the rest of the world. And I've chosen to live my life in service. I measure my success in life by the positive impact I have, not by what I have, but by what I give. Yeah. And, I care. I'm a father. I look around and I'm really concerned about our collective future. It does not look good. We are not on a good path. Yeah. And at a time where we need things like love. And so the message is, if nothing else, getting a message out there at a time that we need it. Right now it's like fear, 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 fear. We need to fear less and love more. And getting a positive message out there at a time where it's like everyone, it feels like high school, maybe junior high school kind of behavior in terms of how our leaders are campaigning and debating, and it's like this isn't how it's supposed to be. Real leadership is presenting a vision, inspiring people, informing people, educating people when problems are brought up, presenting solutions or a process to getting to one. And hopefully the message has a positive impact on people. Hopefully some of the ideas could be implemented. As I've always been blockchain agnostic, my view is if anyone makes the world a better place, we all win. So, put these ideas out into the ether, and hopefully, some of these things get picked up and implemented by me or whomever else.
Right. Do you think that there is even two parties? I mean, it's divide and conquer. We have left and right. I'm talking about Ron Paul earlier. Ron Paul even said, "What do you mean a third party? We're going to need a second party before we ever have a third party."
I view that. So if you study history, you have to go back a bit. In 1824, there was only one political party. It was called the Democratic Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And after that, the party was split into two to create the illusion of choice. I view the left and the right just as the two wings of the same bird.
Right.
Or the flip side of the same coin.
Or a vulture.
Sure. That's a bird. That's a bird. And that political party has had control of this country for over 200 years. The only independent president we've ever had was our first, George Washington. George Washington, at his closing address, warned us about the risks of political parties. John Adams and the other founding fathers warned us that we would be in trouble if this country ever had one or two political parties that became dominant. We've created antitrust legislation where our government even recognizes as a truism that systems of two lead to collusion and monopolies. But those laws don't apply to the government, they only apply to corporations. I mean, the Magna Carta was created in 1215 so that King John would abide by his own laws. The king wasn't meant to be above the law. Our government shouldn't be above its own laws either. And so I agree that we have the illusion of choice. And it's the reason why it doesn't matter which side wins, it just keeps getting worse. And it's worth also noting that over 40% of eligible voters in this country don't vote. Over 30% of registered voters are now independents. By 2024, that's estimated to be 38%. We are the majority. We've been tricked. There's an illusion that we only have two choices, that you have to pick red or blue. The moment we wake up from that illusion and break free and realize, or break through, as the case may be, it's called, we win. We are the majority. We've been tricked into believing that we're the minority and not doing what we know to be right. When you go out to vote, you should be voting for the candidate you believe in. You should trust your gut and follow your heart, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We know this in life. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Why are we allowing a group that is trying to control us to convince us, no, you can't do that or you're bad, throw your vote away? They've been tricking us. It's an illusion. Wake up. We have the power.
You were talking with your staff earlier, and you mentioned Native American votes. What's your strategy on that?
Well, so indigenous issues, I think, are one of the. So we talked about all the problems.
Yeah.
How do we start to solve these problems? How do we reunite this nation? And so I live in Puerto Rico, and I study the past. And so you have to go back to the conquistadors and Christopher Columbus. When the conquistadors came, the impact that had on the indigenous people in the Caribbean, in Central, South, and North America. If we want to heal as a nation, we have to go back in time, starting with the indigenous, and acknowledge the past. It starts with acknowledgement. Most of what we've been taught is a lie. His story or history is written by the victors. And what we've been taught is not the truth. It starts with truth. We have to go back in time, acknowledge the truth, acknowledge what's happened, and then take a seat at the table and start to figure out how we heal from here. How do we heal these traumas? And then how do we move forward as a nation? And it starts with the indigenous. Then it was the Africans that were brought here. And until we start to acknowledge the path, until we start to, speak truth, we're not going to heal. That's like the first step in the process, is the acknowledgement. And so I'm here in support of indigenous, the indigenous nation, or the First Nation, the Native Americans. I think they have carried with them great wisdom. The Lakotas, I was just at Standing Rock, the Lakotas. I have a native name. I've been named in the Lakota language by the Lakota elders as Wakia, which means thunder and lightning, hence the logo.
Right.
And so I'm here to represent them. I'm here to try and give a voice to the voiceless. There's a lot of people in this country that don't feel like they have a voice. There's a lot of people feeling desperate right now. That's why we're seeing all this chaos. When you feel desperate, when you don't feel you have a voice, when you're not feeling acknowledged, and you feel like your back is up against the wall, survival takes precedent over values and principles, right? We have to start figuring out how to heal all these past traumas and these racial issues. We have to make sure that we, the people, in the Constitution means all the people. It doesn't actually mean that. And so we have to make sure that everybody feels they have a voice, that everyone is an American, that we realize that we're all in this together, and because that's how we're going to move forward on those issues. Economically, we have to figure out how to make sure that no one in this country is starving to death, that everyone has access to some form of shelter if they wish it, that everyone has access to some form of health care. We have to make sure that the most basic needs are being met, and we don't have a resource problem. We're the wealthiest nation in the world. We have a resource allocation problem, an efficiency problem, an administration problem, we have accountability problem. It's not a resource problem.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the University of Wyoming. You're contributing to the University of Wyoming, or are you?
Yes.
And just monetarily, or are you going to be offering? Because you're associated with EOS still, correct?
I mean, I'm associated with a lot of things.
And
I mean, the EOS is one of the last major projects that I was focused on before I started focusing on philanthropic work in Puerto Rico and infrastructure, and yeah. But that's one of many things I've done.
Cardano is kind of contributing to the university, so I didn't know if you had some kind of academic plan or something to introduce EOS.
Yeah, so I'm chain agnostic. I mean, I would be happy to introduce Block One to the university, but I'm also here and happy to support Cardano and Charles.
Right.
I'm chain agnostic. I've always been that way. I'm still chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation, and at Blockchain Capital, I was funding. I've been a huge supporter of Ethereum. We're here with Tim Draper and Tezos. I don't believe in like my chain is better than your chain. This coin is better than that coin. It reminds me a lot of maximalism. Reminds me of religious fundamentalism, and I think we've learned over time that doesn't work. I think we need to keep open minds and an open heart, and understand that if anyone succeeds in making the world a better place, we all win.
What do you think of Wyoming and their attempt to make it more blockchain friendly? Compared to, you're in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico has made this big effort to welcome in people from the blockchain, to obviously bring in the money and maybe create new jobs. What do you think of Wyoming compared to Puerto Rico?
I mean, Wyoming is leading. Mm-hmm. Wyoming is leading in innovation. Wyoming has become the capital of innovation in some ways, and it's not just around innovation with blockchain and legislation. It's banking, it's crowdfunding. Like, what you're seeing is a government that's working. I would love the rest of the country to see what's happening here in Wyoming, that you can have government officials from two different political parties that can actually engage in conversation, that can come to agreements, that we can that bills can be passed unanimously. Like, this is an example of like a government functioning as it should. You have actual civil servants. They're showing up in service, and they're barely even being paid. It's I would love to shed light on this and to show the rest of the country. Wyoming in so many ways is leading, which is why I'm here. I'm showing up because I'm seeing great things happening.
It's a butterfly effect. The reason why we're standing here talking today is because Caitlin Long wanted to donate some Bitcoin to this university, and she couldn't. And then from there, it just turned into this legal battle, which turned into a legal flower. Really, I mean, it's incredible what this has turned into. This is my third year coming to this. It's kind of sad this year that we don't have the students and stuff from the local schools that have been here hacking away, but the last 2 years have been just incredible. I parked my RV right outside of the engineering building, and I sat for 24 hours a day, and they're just watching these kids do what they were doing. And it was just grade school kids who had no idea what blockchain or cryptocurrency was. They just came for a hack because some teachers talked them into doing it, and then they left knowing more about cryptocurrency and blockchains and being interested in it. And now that class, it's at one of the local schools. It's 9 through 12. It's called Shoshone. I talked to the guy earlier about that. One of
Tony
the
from
teachers.
Shoshone.
Yeah, and That's incredible. There's actually a class at this little school in Wyoming that's just dedicated to blockchain.
I mean, we need an effective education for everyone. The youth are the future.
Yeah,
they are the
right.
next generation. And I mean, what's going on with COVID and how that's impacting education and the trauma that's creating for young people. Back to healing. There's a lot of
Yeah.
healing that's going to be needed in this country. But yeah, just so excited to see, this all happening. I mean, embracing the future is exactly the right thing to be doing.
Back onto the campaign, sort of. We have such a division right now, and so high school students, college students, people, millennials, are convinced that we need to go out into the streets and riot, just rip shit apart, and then that's the answer. How do you let them know that they're being duped and they're receiving the wrong? I mean, what would your message be to them to try to convince them that?
The message is love. The message is consensus. The message is coming together and engaging in conversation, civil discourse, with dignity and respect. This is something that has happened historically, but we're so divided right now that people are not willing to even have the conversations, which is why we need people that can build bridges, people that are in the middle, that are not associated with a particular team or side, and that hopefully can deliver a message that shows you a better path, shows you how we can rise above partisan politics and understand that what we do has to work for everyone.
What states are you on the ballot in, and how would you instruct people who are not in those states to write you in?
So we're writing in most of the states, if not on the ballot. So New York is where campaign headquarters have been. New York, I was endorsed by the Independence Party of New York, so we're on the ballot there doing a bunch of stuff. I'm from Minnesota. Former U.S. Senator Dean Barkley endorsed me and is our state director. He ran Jesse Ventura's campaign, my home state. We're on the ballot in Washington, D.C., the capital. We're on the ballot here in Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Arkansas, Alaska, Hawaii, Vermont, a bunch of places. I think the most important thing is to get the word out, and I'll be transparent always about the strategy. I don't have to win the election to become president. Did you know that?
Okay.
So the way it works is to win the election, you need to win a majority of the Electoral College vote.
Right.
Keyword being majority. So what happens in a two-party race if there was a tie? 269 to 269, no one gets the necessary 270 Electoral College votes. If there's a tie, which is what happened in the year 1800, Thomas Jefferson versus Aaron Burr, no one wins. Or if a third-party candidate like myself were to win one state, and it's a close race, it might be enough for no one to win. Our goal is to win 3 states. If we win 3 states, it's likely that no one will win the general election. And so what happens if no one wins? If no one wins, the House of Representatives takes the top 3 candidates by Electoral College vote, and they choose the president, not the Democratic House. Each state and its delegates and electors get 1 vote, and including DC. Whoever gets 26 votes becomes the next president. Every time in American history, 100% of the time, they've always chosen the third place candidate to be president as a compromise. Now, it's only happened once, 1824, but precedent.
Statistics, man.
Precedent is on our side, and history has a way of repeating itself, I think, as some of us know. And so the goal is, can we win the state of Wyoming? Can we win Alaska? Can we win Vermont? Can we win Oklahoma? What can we do? And right now, you're about to see late in the game. That's why we announced July 4th. This is a strategy that is never been attempted before. When I talk to major political strategists, they're just like, who are you? Where did you come up with this stuff? I go, you built a rigged game, and I'm the guy that will beat, the rigged game. And if nothing else, we're laying the groundwork for the future. I'm 39. I turned 40 in November. And so I will be running again in 2024, and I'm also looking for 100 candidates for 2022. I'm looking to support 100 independent candidates, doctors, teachers, engineers, computer scientists, entrepreneurs, business people, artists, looking for 100 people that are ready to be civil servants up and down the ticket, local, state, federal. You know, this is about creating a political movement. It's not about creating a third party. There's plenty of those. Not even a third major party, though that would help us, or a second, as Ron Paul might put it. It's about creating a platform that enables you to do what you think is right. The problem with political parties is they control their candidates and tell them what to do and think. I don't want to control candidates. I want to assist candidates to get into office so they can speak their truth and directly represent the people. What a crazy idea. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Right. I mean, every cycle it escalates into this is the most important election of our lifetime. You hear that every cycle.
Yes.
And maybe it's even true of this one. 'Cause it's just insane. It is absolutely insane, the division. But they're doing a really good job of making people actually feel like it is ultimately important for you to pick either Biden or Trump. I still vote for SpongeBob. So,
Well, I hope we're getting your vote.
I don't know, man. I can't throw away my vote and not believe in SpongeBob anymore.
Hey, gotta like SpongeBob.
Yeah, for sure. The
But-
bikini party.
We have the power to change everything the moment we choose. We are the majority. The youth, the youth are the sleeping giant. When they wake up and realize that half the population of the planet is 35 years old and younger, we win eventually. The question is it now or later?
Yeah.
Sooner is better for all of us.
Right. And what gets done with winning? Hopefully, it's something responsible that is compatible with everybody.
Yeah, when I say we, I mean
Right.
those of us that are gonna do what we're doing. It's our time. Our time is now.
Well-
It's time to act.
Brock Pierce, everybody, check it out. Brock, what's the website? Brock 2020 or
Brock.vote. Brock.vote. Or Brock the vote.
there you go. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.